You're tuning in to CraigCast, the best in Web3, blockchain, NFT, and cryptocurrency technology. Great reviews, incredible interviews with the leading people in Web3. I'm your host, Craig O. Join me on my live stream as we go across multiple platforms, talking to some of the best people in the space. I've done well over 100 episodes, full-length podcasts gone live on multiple channels. All that to be said, CraigCast helps my community to plot, plan, strategize, and implement their next moves. I describe myself as 25% DJ. The other 75% is really steadfast to make sure that I understand the long-term implications of this space. I want to bring information to you. We might not happen to the same NFT community, but we are all here, and the bigger bet is on crypto overall. How will blockchain affect a world that will be fully tokenized in the next 10 to 15 years? Where will quantum computing be? How will AI, as it's already been a disruptor, how will that impact us over the next 5 to 10 years? So everything that we do on this stream is long-term in mind. I'm your host, Craig O. Let's get to it. Welcome back to CraigCast, where we dive in to the best of Web3, blockchain, NFT, and cryptocurrency innovation. Today's guest is no exception to that rule. We are joined by Andrea Miele, CEO of Bezy, a platform redefining how real-world assets are tokenized. Bezy started on Flow, and recently they launched on Base. And today, we're going to unpack what does that mean for securing physical goods in a digital world. We're going to explore accessibility, Web2 friendliness, Web3 and beyond, and how people can safely protect and participate with physical assets through tokenization. 2025 brought a meaningful lesson, momentum across emerging tech, and today we're going to talk about what worked, what was challenging Bezy, and how those lessons are shaping the roadmap for 2026 and beyond. This is a conversation about trust, ownership, and the bridge between physical and digital value. Join me. GM, how are you?
GM, that was quite an intro. I love it. Thank you for having me.
You know, it's all right. I appreciate it. I always do better intros. It depends on, what the flow is, how many hours of sleep we get as parents. So I know that you can relate to that.
Yes.
Tell me the origin story, because I think when I look at it, you understood tech intimately before you ever came to emerging tech, or we call it Web3. How did Bezy start off? You were holding something valuable and you recognized that there was a void that you could fill. Tell me a little bit about that.
I mean, I think it's important to start with the history in collectibles, and that goes back to my childhood and having a dad that collected everything. And I look back on it now, and sort of the chase for the grails was just inherent in growing up. We were always going to yard sales or swap meets, or he was ordering in coins. Like, this was just part of the fabric of my childhood. So you take that and you just kind of remember it. I grow up, I start a career in high-tech healthcare, and I start passively investing in crypto in like 2015, 2016. And then around 2019, started looking a little deeper into actually the technology that powered. And I fell in love, and I started thinking about its future application in healthcare data, because that's where I was, and sort of got really invigorated by that and excited and coming up with all these ideas, but also knew the healthcare space really intimately and knew the red tape involved and kind of all of the hurdles and barriers to entry. So then got more involved. NFT class of like 2020, 2021 was in all of the, the major communities, from apes to Azuki to Pudgies to Doodles, like was in a piece of each one at one point or another, and loved what everyone was doing. Really connected actually though with more of the NFTs for access. That always made sense to me. Met my co-founder along the way, Pratik, who is now a brother from another mother and like family. And we started talking about this smart contract idea that was around buybacks and instant liquidity. And we thought, we've got something here. And that was in 2021. Started to see the bear market coming. The writing was sort of on the wall, and knew that we had something with the smart contract, but wasn't willing to double down that market around sort of JPEGs would come back the way it already was. And that's where we started talking about collectibles. And the collectible space and the resale around collectibles being a really antiquated industry as it was, and thinking we've got something here with this technology. And if we take this smart contract and we sort of apply it to a gamified layer, but then also start creating a fix for the logistics. And that's really, it's the least sexy part of the platform, but it's probably the most impactful and meaningful to actual collectors and resellers. That's where the seeds started being built.
Trust is everything in this space, and I've been using the Web 2 version. I also played around with the Web 3 version early on, and I wanted to try Web 2 to try to have an idea, understanding what is that experience like. And the fact that you recently launched to base, we're going to talk a little bit about that. But I love pulling the claw. I'm actually addicted to the $50 one, and I'm always trying to find the value. And I never thought at the age of 48 that I would actually have a Pokemon collection. And I think my Pokemon collection is worth north, if I was, it's probably around $1,000. Nothing crazy.
Amazing.
But respected. I think this past week I was ranked 51 out of all the people pulling claws, because I wanted to come on and talk about, maybe we could talk a little bit about the different claws and partnerships. But maybe I want to start with you, if I can, is you go onto this platform, and anybody that has an email address can literally sign up. And I think it's easy to go onto Coinbase, grab your USDC for base, send it over, and it's very easy to pull the claw, the send and receive address. It's super simple. I mean, even GPT could lay it out for someone in a step-by-step way where you and I don't have to even go over that kind of logistic. But talk to me about the claw machines and sort of the gamification aspect, because I feel like whenever I pull the claw, I know that I'm not going to end up with nothing. I'm going to end up with something. Maybe talk about the varying value between the different claw machines if you can.
Yeah, I mean, the gamified layer linked to the smart contract. The front end, you can skin however you want. It could be a claw, it could be a gotcha, it could be, a blind box. That could be anything. The instant liquidity piece is where it gets interesting, but to circle back even a little bit more, it's the hook, right? Every marketplace has a cold start problem. If we just came on the scene as your simple like buy, sell, trade marketplace, how do you get people in the door? And that's really what we built the claw to be. It is an amazing provider of user-generated content. We see great content come out around people's polls and getting excited. Yeah. It's fun. And then, when you talk about what's in each claw, we are very, very thoughtful around the odds, the price points. We always want people to feel like, the platform's not taking advantage of them or being extractive. We want people to be able to collect, have fun, fuel that dopamine a little bit. And we try to have that reflective in our EV and our odds.
There's not a shortage of dopamine. And I think that's what gets me to come back to it, is I'm building a collection. And yeah, I hope that of all the claw pulls that either I'll be even or I'll be ahead. And I feel it in a space where trust is minimal, right? It really is. It's weathering a storm. And I think you guys convey the trust. I think being multi-blockchain, maybe we could talk a little bit about that, I think is really important for expansion and growth. And I think you guys reach some really cool metrics. Maybe if I can just dive in a little bit of that. Let's take the $50 claw machine, for example, right? You have a certain amount where you have to refill the machine after a certain point. Everything that you have physical is with Brinks. We can talk a little bit about that. But if you can, how do the odds work? Because I want people to know, like, you go to a casino, the odds are always in the casino's favor. So you either walk out, you're broke, or you walk out with a lot less money. I feel like the odds with this level of the dopamine hit, quote unquote, quasi gambling, is much better with you guys. And I feel like people can maybe get that healthy fix while building a collection they can appreciate.
Yeah. I mean, well, it's not gambling. We don't like to use the G word.
I know. I hear you.
But we created it in a way where, blockchain allows you to be fully transparent, and it allows the platform to be fair with the polls, right? Like there's no way to influence as a platform what, Craig, you pull on the next claw. And also we built this in a way that our odds are dynamic. So when you go on the claw, you see in that moment exactly what the odds are of what you can pull. And you'll see what the top pulls are. So fairness and transparency is key. And then, you talked a little bit about our vault. every asset that's in the claw is owned by Bezy, vaulted at Brinks. Anything that's listed on our marketplace is either owned by Bezy or one of our users. Again, vaulted at Brinks, fully insured, redeemable at any point in time, and you have the ability to get it shipped to you globally.
And by the way, not being specific, but there are others out there that don't have that level of transparency and honesty. They'll put things up that they don't have in hopes that they have to go and grab it to fulfill that quote unquote order. You have everything there. And I also appreciate how you dove a little bit on the odds. Let's talk about that relationship with Brinks, because that to me, I think was really impressive. Like, we see the Brinks armored trucks all over the place, so we understand what that is when people are going into a bank. And when you think about security in Web3, I'm still delineating. Do I say emerging tech Web3? Everything's tokenized, blockchain. I'm still trying to come to figure out what I should be labeling that. But talk to me about the relationship between Bezy and Brinks, if we can dive a little bit on that.
Yeah, it's something we're really proud of. We've had a contract with them for over 2 years now. We had that contract in place before the platform ever saw the light of day. It amazes me to see some, like, new platforms come up all the time and they don't have vaults in place right away. Like, that was something that was critical. That was step number one for us as we started to build this company and its foundation. And we knew, there's obviously a huge opportunity in Web3. We're a Web3 native team. Like, we've built this platform here, but there is a massive opportunity in Web2. And the ability to bring new users on chain on platforms like ours, where, eventually you're really abstracting the blockchain. One of the critical important pieces is that we have a vault provider that they know, they trust, and that we can stand hand in hand with and be really proud of.
Now, you did a partnership this past year with OpenSea, and I feel like OpenSea for me was where kind of my love for NFT related communities really got started. Yeah, no, I love it. I mean, congratulations. And one of the individuals that I had interviewed, Bark, had been on the podcast, and then he became, I believe, chief marketing officer. Hopefully I'll have him on this year. But talk to me a little bit about that relationship. I remember getting the treasure chest, because I think that, right, we stay away from the G word, but the gamification aspect of RWAs, you guys have really done it in a very thoughtful manner. I think I love how you guys show up on X. I absolutely do. Well, your posts are thoughtful. But talk to me about the relationship and the connection between you guys and OpenSea, and what is that looking like for this year in 2026?
I will say I'm so proud of the OpenSea team. And I think as a brand in this space, they have continued to evolve and to take a temperature of the room, to bring on new people on the team that are bringing new and fresh perspectives, like Steve, talking about that. I think Adam is an exceptional leader and has done a really great job with their comms. And, one of the ways that they evolved was partnering with us and creating, this new interaction with their treasure chest and vouchers, and being able to have RWAs as a part of that. And we were really proud to build that with them. I think we've done 4 seasons at this point. And, I can't speak to how many seasons there will be or when TGE is and all of those pieces. That's, obviously for them to talk about. But, when they want assets, we are here and happy to deliver and source and, link that to the vouchers and the OpenSea clause.
I started playing around with Bezy in October, and Pradek, your partner, your brother from another mother, we had great conversations, and my head started to work around the claw machine being NFTs. And then I feel like you and OpenSea came together, and it was this beautiful marriage where it gave me what I needed, which was this chest that I could hold on to and see it, and it be that replica of that smart contract, or I could take it and put it in the claw pool for a physical with my digital twin. How much do you think, when we think about the meta this year, and I think a couple metas, AI and security infrastructure, maybe we could talk a little bit, we'll get off the beaten path, a little bit of Bezy, and kind of get your thoughts on the overall market and where things are heading. But I think the big meta is around RWAs, and I think you guys are a big, important part of that narrative. Talk to me a little bit about how you think RWAs are going to play as more people are coming aboard, one, and then two, are you finding that you're getting more the Web2 crowd that's coming on, getting sort of that intro through their email. I find it very easy to use. I set up the 2FA. What are your thoughts on those two things?
It's a loaded question with a few questions baked into one. I mean, I'm a firm believer in the tokenize everything economy, and I'm a firm believer in building a business that solves a problem. And I think when you are investing in a collectible, not something that you're going to necessarily wear or need to stare at every day, you just are investing in it because you love it or you believe that it's going to appreciate. I don't see the value in having to move that collectible every time it sells. And so that is something that I think we lend ourselves really well to, right? It's, it's secured storely at Brinks. You don't take that risk and that overhead of self-storage. And if you do need liquidity, you want to sell it for whatever reason, you don't actually have to move that asset and put it at risk. I think that there are many, many, many categories of RWAs that you can fit into that box, whether we're talking about jewelry, watches, cars, precious metals, artwork. We could have a conversation on that alone forever. So it's one of the reasons we came into market as a multi-category platform, because we didn't just want to limit ourselves to TCG. And we will continue to expand based on the different brand partners we bring in and the opportunities that we chase down, because I don't think we need to limit ourselves. It's a massive market and a massive opportunity.
How many partnerships do you have right now on January 22nd, 2026? How many partnerships do we have in play right now that you can talk about?
I mean, we have 3 that were live. So we started off with a tag grading claw. That was what we did earlier in 2025, and tag, if you don't know them, they're a grading company that is really tech forward, amazing team. And that was super fun. Then we had the OpenSea partnership with their claw, which was a completely different mechanic. And, I find it really valuable to show potential partners, you don't need to have this swap and buyback. It can truly be an engagement tool for your brand, your fans, a reward. And then we just launched a football.fun, sport.fun claw with, one of the biggest brands in the Bezy ecosystem. That team I am just such fans of. I think Adam and Caleb and the rest of the guys could write a book on how to build a great platform and product and get users in this space. And then there are, many coming down the line that I can't talk about just yet.
No, that's cool. We pushed a little bit. Want to keep that conversation comfortable.
Good.
I haven't tried the $250 claw. The $50 claw I keep coming back to because I'm always thinking about behavior on your platform, the psychology. Yeah. Is there something that you notice from your user base that you can share with us in a general standpoint? Are you seeing people on strategy, or you see people just coming like at the casino, not gambling, just pulling the metaphorical claw on a particular thing? Is there something that you're noticing? Is there a trend that you're picking up right now on collectibles that we can at least spot or understand?
I think you've got a few different types of users. Some people are true collectors that love the dopamine hit at the same time and are really going for a special asset that they want to hold and put in their collection. And they have fun along the way chasing it. And they're getting Bezy points, and they're on our leaderboard. They're part of our community. And then, obviously in this space, there's the farmers and the speculators, and they're coming in and trying to rack up points because they want to get from one thing to another thing. And then you have, what I personally think is the most fun is when someone finds us through, whether it's content or a contact, and they come in and they're sort of like, I used to collect Pokemon growing up. Yeah. And then they get, they fall back in love with being a collector. That is so fun. And I think, one of the things that I'm most proud of with our community is we have such a supportive and strong community that fully embraces new people coming in that begin to collect again. And they're such a valuable resource because they know so much. That's been super fun to watch as well.
It's an inviting community, and funny enough that after this conversation, one of the things I'm going to do is show this back to my son Jacob, who's 9, and we're going to kind of have fun at the claw pulls. And so, as long as he does well in school each week, he's going to get to do a pull. So
I
it's
love
going to
that.
be a lot of fun because
Good allowance. That's a good allowance right there.
well, yeah, it's kind of funny when you talk to the family about, this space and emerging tech and trying to understand what blockchain and RWAs represent. And, I study this space as intently as I can to interview some of the brightest minds like you. I try to break it down in a way that people can understand. And if you can explain it to a 9-year-old and they get excited by it, like I started to explain, he's like, that's really cool. So we'll have these cards and we can then actually burn this twin. And I explained it to him and I was like, and then they send you the physical. And so I remember the first time I had one of them sent to me so I could see how that process works. I thought that was incredibly cool. Tell me about some of the accomplishments since you guys just launched on Base. Let's tout that a little bit. What were some of the things that just happened over the past few weeks?
I mean, we just launched on Base. We are a few days in. We already hit $1 million in revenue on the claw. We're over 2 million GMV. Our engagement is really through the roof. Last week, Base posted on us as the app of the week, and that was great. The team has been beyond supportive. Our mini app is now up and running. It is so fun to pull the claw in the Base app and really super, super seamless. That's actually where I go to do my pulls now. Yep. So, yeah, it's been great. And, I can say like, I can't speak for Pratik, but I can speak for someone that, hears him every day.
Yeah.
He cannot say enough about how easy it's been to integrate Base, to go multi-chain, to take that first step, and just how great the infrastructure and the tech really is.
And initially you guys launched with Flow, correct?
Yep. I mean, way, way, way back in the day, we did an MVP on Blast. Okay. And that kind of really tells you how OG this team is. Yeah.
Wow. But I think it's really cool because, look, every blockchain is going to run through its challenges, its growth phase. And so that's how I discovered you guys was on Flow. And now having you guys on Base, there's always these great options where I can use USDF or I can use USDC Base. So either way, I'm able to pull the claw at any given time in two different, blockchain currencies. So to me, that's been a lot of fun. What are some misnomers you think about the RWA space, maybe as it pertains to Bezy, that people might want to be aware of? Something that, I don't know, people think, well, it's, digital, it's just a fad. I don't think it's a fad, but what's like one misnomer that you would say, hey guys, that's not true. And here's why.
I think a lot of people think we're just about trading cards. And so there's that piece. We have sneakers, we have vintage video games, we have sealed product. So there's a much wider inventory than just slabs of cards.
So I want to talk to you about the marketplace because I was on it. I was kind of exploring it the other day. Talk to me about what's going on currently in the marketplace. I see that I can buy things. They're obviously vaulted with Brinks, so it's nice and safe, or I can burn that and have it shipped to me. Talk to me a little bit about the marketplace and maybe some plans or like some things that you can like share with us that might be public knowledge concerning the marketplace that people might want to be aware of.
Yeah, well, I'll say, right now, TCG is such a liquid market and it's insane. You can find some really great deals. And we see that in the Discord and people posting almost daily now of like, oh, I found this was listed on the marketplace. I think somebody forgot about it. I scooped it up because the last sale was 20% higher than what it was listed at. So that happens. There's a much broader conversation around composability with these on-chain assets. Step one is getting the asset on chain. And then step 2, 3, 4, 5, you go into lending and auctions, eventually fractionalization. I mean, there's so many different things we can talk about, and that those pieces are very important to us, and certainly things that we're actively working on as a platform.
Did you say lending? And before you answer that, I always think there's 3 things that I want my crypto to do. One is provide a yield, provide a utility, or governance, the right to vote and be part of that community as far as things are going on. So is there a loan component that's happening possibly with Bezy this year?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I heard that and I was like, whoa, wait.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I don't know how you wouldn't. As a platform doing what we're doing,
Right.
my broad statement is I don't know how you wouldn't. At the same time, you don't want to stretch yourself too thin. And when we do something, we want to do it really, really well. So right now is the build period for both lending and auctions, but we're not that far away from it. We're super excited about it. And, I'll just say stay tuned on that front.
I love it. I love how thoughtful and strategic you and Pratik are as far as the implementation. And I don't use the word KOL. I don't consider myself a KOL. I call it quality content creator. So we create the short clips that are compelling. I'll use a product or a service. So at some point in the coming months, I'll create a short clip video around Bezy, not about how to use it, but why it's relevant, why it's important. For 2026, what do you see people gearing towards? Are you seeing a certain attitude towards Bitcoin? And, because obviously you're so part of the conversation because you're immersed in the space. Tell me a little bit about some of those conversations, maybe behind the scenes that you can share publicly, related to Bitcoin, related to, other blockchains. What are your thoughts right now?
I mean, oh God, I always say I have no linear thoughts through the day because I'm always pulled into many different types of conversations. Top of mind, I think that one of the important pieces is we sort of get rid of the tribalism between chains. And you see that with, the bridge between Base and Solana, and we're getting closer to that, right? For us as a platform, we want to integrate as many chains as possible. We truly want to abstract them. And if you are a maxi of one chain, there's no barrier of entry to come and use Bezy.
Right.
I also think that there's a really relevant conversation that I feel very passionately about around giving token holders some type of reassurance that in the event of in a liquidity event in the future, they're not going to be left out in the cold. And we've seen that happen time and time again. Obviously, as a US based company, there's a conversation around securities there, but I think that if we figure this out, it's net positive. And you see companies that have an ICO and a TGE and they raise a bunch of money and then they go on to do exceptionally well. And the holders and the people that got them there aren't seeing any of that. And that feels like a huge disconnect. So that is a conversation that I'm happy to see getting much more traction right now.
What do you think from your end? So I had hopped on and I saw the migration over to Base. Was there a specific reason for that? Was it in the way of contract flow? I was just curious and just thought I would ask off the cuff on that.
Yeah, I mean, we're an EVM based platform. So our first step into being truly multi-chain, we decided to stay with EVM because it was our first step. Second step might be very different. But it was a language that, my dev team spoke and we didn't have to make any new hires for that. And so there was no other option other than Base. I mean, Base is leading the way. They are truly like the leading consumer crypto chain. I'm from the US. I've been buying my crypto on Coinbase for what feels like ever. And I think, we don't deserve Brian Armstrong with everything that he's doing and the voice that he's giving to this space. So we're just super proud to have Base as our first partner stepping into multi-chain.
Yeah, I think he had some professional words for, I think, the French minister around, they were talking around Bitcoin and saying, you got to trust the government and you got to trust currency. And he's like, no, I trust Bitcoin. What are your thoughts around the Clarity Act? I did a little quick 2026 predictions video. I don't think the Clarity is going to pass this year. And of any prediction, I'm a guy in a basement with a camera getting to talk to amazing people like you. But I don't think the Clarity will pass this year just for the ideas that everything is sort of unpredictable. I hope that it does because we need it badly in relation to stable coins. What are your thoughts around the Clarity Act?
I mean, listen, I'm a poor startup founder that's just trying to get her company off the ground. In no way, shape, or form should I be giving any type of advice or even opinion on this. But
Well, I'm asking for it.
No, as someone that started building out her company in a prior administration and being a US based company and having to really consider moving offshore, I think that any advancement towards clear regulation and progression of the space, whether it passes off the bat or not, is positive. I'm very proud to now be a US builder in crypto. And I am very proud of a lot of the positions that we've taken. And it does feel like we've done a complete 180 from where we were. We have a long way to go. There's still a big gap, but we are also an industry in its infancy. And, it takes voices like Brian to move us forward on not only a domestic stage, but also an international stage.
Right.
And, I think clarity is a big piece of that.
But I think you said it perfectly. We've already won by this current administration being crypto friendly. Whatever you think about geopolitics and all the other things and the noise, when it comes to crypto, we've already won in that regard for emerging tech and companies like you who are building. I want to peel back that onion a little bit on loans. And the reason I want to ask that is it kind of brought me to this next thought, right? If there was a company and said, hey, would you invest in Bezy? I'd say, I love the founders. I love the product. I love the platform. The technology's great. When there was issues, how you guys handled it, how you communicated to the community. Would there ever be a token launch which is not about number go up, but a token that supports the long-term trajectory of Bezy for community participants? Is that a possibility?
100%. That's what it's always about, right? Like when I look at, our future token, it is all about creating that flywheel that allows us to continue to grow and scale as a business and allows our participants to see the value of betting on the underlying ecosystem. So 100%.
Could it possibly happen this year?
Yeah, no, it's going to.
Okay, good. See, I didn't know that. And it just kind of made me think, well, if you're doing loans, potentially, well, not potentially, you are, and you've got all these claws. Talk to me about the $250 claw or a success story, because I've seen some of those big ones and maybe it keeps me coming back because I want to build a collection and I enjoy it. And then I'll look on Gronk or GPT and I'll say, tell me about this card. I actually want to learn about what it is that I hold. And I actually hold a 1999 fossil with the dinosaur. I'm forgetting the name of the card, but it's worth around $400. When I first got it, it was worth about $300. And I find it funny on the number go up or down spectrum, but what the card represents to a collector, that it's special or sacred. Now, obviously, I don't have the Charizard, but tell me about some of the success stories. I want to hear about some of those amazing pulls. And then, people have a certain amount of time where they can say, oh, I'll take the crypto and you can keep and roll it back in and you'll give, fair market value. Talk to me a little bit about that process after someone successfully pulls a gem.
I mean, it's fun. We definitely put a lot of the grails or the gems in our claw machine based on feedback from the community and what people want, because we have some of the best, sourcers in our network. And so we can actually say, hey, can you please go get this specific card, find it, and we get that and we put that in. And then we see people get excited about like, oh my God, I was just talking about this card and wanting it 2 weeks ago. And so that's like a really fun experience to see go from start to finish. I mean, we put a bunch of like base set assets in this 250 because we were launching on base. And so there's a marketing opportunity there. People love vintage. So we knew it would be a win-win. And then, you have people that want very specific newer cards. It was fun when we were curating the Tag claw earlier in the year, because Tag is obviously a much smaller grading company than like a PSA. So we had to be super thoughtful and specific about all the assets that went in there. Curation is not my day-to-day at all. Like, you guys don't want me curating these claws, but I always enjoy being a fly on the wall or signing off on, checks to buy this stuff, because the sourcing and the curation and just putting in assets that we know people really appreciate or want or are interested in, it almost feels like you're just serving a great meal, if that makes any sense. I love to
100%.
cook. And so I feel like, okay, this is the steak dinner that everyone's been asking for. Here we go. And
Right.
that's really fun.
Yeah. I can't say it enough that that's probably the one thing is that I want people to go and try the platform. And, when someone says, "Oh, Craig, what's the, cold wallet and what wallet do I download an app?" I said, just go get Coinbase, play around with it. And then you guys are the easy entry because that bridge to connect now has just been, especially now because of Base, has been made so much easier that I would assume you've seen this uptick in more polls, more collections, more action, more playing around in the marketplace. Now you guys have loans coming out, which I'm really excited to see how that all works, intertwines. A token launch, I definitely want to grab or hold some token because I believe in you and your partner, and I believe in the team. And I believe in the quality content creators that surround Bezy. And again, one of the things that I look for, sort of telltale signs, is you'll look at X pages and you'll look at what are they putting out? What are they saying? Who are the people that they're spotlighting? But I love when someone has a really great pull. I love to share that, hey guys, I pulled this card. I think one of the biggest cards that you had, or at least it was talked about, it was like $400,000 card. It was Charizard, if I'm correct.
Yeah, this is a great story. So we had a collector, a guy, he's actually an angel in Beezie as well, DCF God. And this was a card that he was looking for. And, they're not easy to come by and they come at a price. We started working on it. One of our team members found that there was a card actually on Rally Road, and Rally is a fractionalization platform. And so we approached them about a buyout. They have to go through this whole process of voting. And as we were going through it, this is like a multi-week process. Everything was under wraps. Wow. So the sale went through. We got the card for 300,000. We tokenized it. We tokenized it for DCF God. And he's begun an amazing journey on an amazing collection. But then very quickly after, you started seeing sales. I think the next sale was like 550. I don't know if it was announced yet, but I'm pretty sure it was on Fanatics and it was around 550. And, that felt really good because we were able to get this for someone that believed in us off the bat and, invested here, and someone that believes in tokenization and wasn't doing it in like a marketing way. He was doing it because he really wanted the asset. He wanted it on chain.
Do you think that you might have, I'm just using an example, Matchbox cars, collectibles from the 60s and 70s? Do you see it varying out to other collectibles or precious metals? I'm just kind of curious to see where that could expand this year.
Yes, 100%. Yes.
Love it. Now, I have a friend of mine who has a massive shoe collection. And I think one of the things about holding shoes, and I was thinking about as it relates to Brinks, and this is another way that Bezy becomes valuable. Why would you want to have shoes that over time you can't properly store? Does it make sense for them to store it with Bezy? And what would that process, I'm with Brinks and Bezy, what does that process look like? Because you guys hold physical, create the digital twin. Can you maybe talk a little bit about that?
So yes, why would you want to, shoeboxes take up a lot of space, right? Why do you want to fill your whole guest bedroom with 50, 60, 70 different shoeboxes that you're never going to wear?
Right.
So when we intake shoes, they're all dead stock. We use Entropy to AI verify that these are actually real shoes and not fraudulent.
Yep.
We get that Entropy verification. Entropy is like an OG sneaker authenticator. Everyone knows the brand. And then, they're vaulted safely. And if you need liquidity, price them fairly on the marketplace and somebody's probably going to scoop them up.
I love that. And I think, again, that's another incredible use for what you guys are doing at Bezy. By the way, how did the name Bezy come about? And the B, I love the B. It's like, I feel like some of the magic, and I say that in, emerging tech, Web3 is sort of a masterclass in marketing. And then also a lot of things that can go incredibly wrong in problem solving. How did the branding around Bezy actually happen?
Well, initially we were called The Colony. That was in our blast days. And as we started to get bigger and kind of like take off in this space, we realized very quickly that we needed to trademark. And you can't trademark the word colony, right? Like it already exists.
Yeah.
So we said, well, before this thing goes too far down the road, let's find a word that is uniquely ours. There was this tie into bees because a colony is like greater than the sum of all your parts, right? It's sort of like working together to build something much bigger. And we liked that theme. And the word Bezy, 2 syllables, uniquely ours, we were able to trademark it. We got Bezy.com a few months ago and just rolled that out on base. We were able to get the Bezy handle just not too long ago on X, and it's ours.
I love that. What, I guess from when you look and you step back from your company with Product and you're kind of having these conversations and you look at how busy you guys are going to be this year compared to last, what are some things that you're looking out? Because I think projection is really important, not projection of revenue, but projection of messaging and branding. When it comes back to your QCCs, I only do KOL, quality content creators. What kind of content do you think resonates? Because we think multi-platform. So now I kind of want to go off of the kind of the marketing, right? Where we think about Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and maybe even LinkedIn, right? Because how I discovered you guys was on X, right? All my crypto Web3 emerging tech experience happens there. And then we have our YouTube channel. We're live on YouTube and X and Twitch. So thanks everybody who is attending and tuning in today. But what does it look like from a marketing standpoint when you're going across these different platforms? Is there a different change in messaging? Is it similar? Talk to me a little bit about that approach, because you guys are really thoughtful and methodic on what you've built. So I have to assume that the same happens on the marketing end of things.
Yeah, we have a very different voice on X than we do on Instagram, let's say, right? Like Instagram caters towards a non-crypto native audience. So it's much more, educational in that way, or talking about the vault, or telling a story around a collectible, or, the collectibles market in general. We've all been in X for a long time, like crypto native team. So we get what works here. This is probably the platform that we are the most comfortable on as a team. But again, growing, expanding, the meta playbook has already been written by other Web2 competitors. So it's actually not that difficult to recreate. You don't have to recreate the wheel there. I think one of the most, if I'm going to generalize though, like one of the best tools in marketing for collectibles, and what is really important, is the storytelling around a collectible. And that's, having receipts on chain when a collectible goes from one person to 5 down the road, 10 years from now, I think is really, really special, right? If I remember back in the NFT like class of 2020, 2021, if you bought a doodle that was originally minted by Pranksy, there was a story there to tell.
100%.
And the same lives with physical collectibles when you apply those on chain, or, even you're telling the story off chain.
Yeah, no, I mean, one of my first experiences was actually with On-Chain Monkey. Big shout out to MetaGood and all the amazing things that they're doing over there. I was
a holder there. That's a great team.
We had an interview with Amanda Terry. I've talked to a lot of people on the team over there, and I loved what they are doing and continue to do and push forward, rise. But I think that the experience early on, especially during COVID time, where you had more of a captive audience, I think the marketing has changed. As you had said, your message changes a little bit, because as on Instagram, maybe the clips are a little bit shorter. They're more educational, related to an everyday novice who is just an internet basic. They don't have a wallet. They don't know anything about a private or a public key. How do you find it that content creators like myself and others continue to expand that message out there around the value of RWAs and all the amazing things that you guys are doing?
Oh God. I mean, it's the hook, right? Like the easiest way to get someone to pay attention is to talk about, look what I just pulled for $50 and it's a $3,000 asset. Like that's just what's going to grab attention. But knowing that that's the initial draw, and then being able to build off of that and talk about sort of the features and benefits of the platform, and then getting into, and by the way, this platform is built and powered by blockchain. I think that's kind of the cadence of how you, as a content creator, might introduce this to a non-crypto native audience.
I love it. I think we've covered quite a bit. Is there anything that you think from today's conversation as we sit here in Q1, prepared for an incredible year, loans, multiple claw machines, new partnerships to be announced? Is there anything that we might not have covered?
Oh, we got a lot done. I would say, just if you have not used Bezy yet, we're a really welcoming community. Hop in the Discord, start engaging on X.
Yep.
Tell them Andrea said you'd get a free claw pull. We would love to have you. I think it's a super simple, easy platform. And I always go with the keep it simple, stupid model. Like, we built this in a way that your kids or your parents should be able to understand.
Well, Andrea, myself and the team, we were going to continue to support what it is that you're doing. And it's an honor to have you on. I think didn't get many hours of sleep last night, but we pulled it together. And I feel like the dialogue doesn't have to be 2 or 3 hours long. I think you can condense it to a really meaningful conversation and what you guys are doing. And this conversation will prove just that. You guys are steadfast, you're focused, you're intentional. And I appreciate you giving me your time here on CraigCast.
I appreciate you, Craig. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Hold on one second.